Welcome to John and Dave TV. I'm John.
And I'm Dave. This show is to bring the community back together. We're going through a very hard time right now with everything, the self-isolation and everything else. And we thought maybe we should bring new skills or new hobbies to you in your home that you're able to do with us.
So make sure you join us on every episode where you can learn something new every time to try and help get you through this whole staying at home situation.
Today on a Dave and John show.
It's the John and Dave
I
show.
do the advertising for both the Empire Renfrew and the Skylight Drive-In. And now, because of the working relationship that I've had with Kevin, he's getting asked, obviously with the Drive-In not officially open up at this particular point in time of this recording. Now he's being asked by, schools to do graduation, and he's looking at people doing weddings there. He's been approached by concert promoters and so forth. And of course, they're all asking, well, can you get video up on the big screen?
All right, Dave. So we're back for another episode. We're now getting on to about the third month now, I think, of this COVID-19 lockdown. But stores and businesses are starting to open up now. I don't know what you're seeing in your end where you live, but I know here even Michael's just opened up, and it was a lineup of like 100 people.
Yeah, Cobden slowly starting to turn back on. Business starting to open. Restaurants are starting to open. It's nice actually to see things kind of semi get back to normal. I'm back to normal. I'm not at home today. I'm not filming from home. I'm filming from downtown Toronto, where I'm back at work, working on the railroads here.
There you go. And I'm still waiting for them to let me open my doors with my business closed down. But luckily, the person that's here today with us, he's a business that kind of shut down, but also didn't. He still was going on with a couple other things, and he's had to sort of conform his business into different ways and reinvent himself a little bit. So we've got, of course, Shawn Behnke from ComBEtek Multimedia, one of the top videographers in the area. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey, how you guys doing? Long time no see.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit more about ComBEtek, what it is, how you got started, maybe give a little history of how you got into the business.
Well, my current operation actually started back in, I'd say, the early 90s. So I used to, with a high school buddy of mine, we kind of got together. I went to Loyalist in Belleville for television broadcasting, and it was great. Enjoyed my time there. But there was just something that, I don't know, my family's always been in the restaurant business and so forth. So I've always been around business. And reason I decided to take television broadcasting, because at that time, that's when computers and video were just starting to just emerge, right? So for anyone who's into computers and knows a little bit of history with digital video, so NewTek had recently come out with the video toaster, and that was way ahead of its time in dealing with computers and video. And it really kind of, because I've always been a techie. I've always liked technology. I mean, I wouldn't call it a computer, but I guess my first gaming system was an Atari 2600. So now I'm really dating myself. But I've always been involved with that aspect of it. So fast forward, go through high school. A decision was made to go somewhere, do something college-wise, right? So went to Belleville, television broadcasting. I didn't finish it. It wasn't because I didn't like it. It wasn't because I was failing or anything like that. It was just something deep down was telling me that I needed to just take a different path. So I ended up coming back to the Pembroke area, and of course, a buddy of mine from high school, we started floating around this idea. So lo and behold, I just before the end of the first year of my program finished, we actually went on a road trip to Florida for 10 days, and we basically brainstormed, and it was a road trip. I mean, like you just,
most people brainstorm in an office. You go on to Florida.
Yeah. So we take a road trip to Pensacola, Florida, and taking the sun and everything else. And by the time we came back, I would say within 2 months after that, we had already registered a business. At that time, it was BT Video Productions and Computers. And we actually worked out of his parents' basement, working with computers and so forth. Now, the video side of it, was interesting because it really piqued his interest too. So we did that. And, you know, just like any young, I was 19 at the time. And of course, a lot of people didn't take it seriously. It's like, you know, like really 19-year-olds coming up with a video production and computer business. So, so needless to say, it was a, you know, interesting couple years where, you know, young entrepreneurs just trying to get their feet wet. So during that time, obviously, you know, we still, you know, I only had my 1 year of TV broadcasting under me, but I had a bunch of ideas, and I'm always an ambitious guy. But at the time, it was then Rogers Community TV, and now it's YourTV. We actually started volunteering. He started volunteering before I did, and I was still kind of doing it because I was a techie in dealing with sales and building computers and all that other stuff. So he ended up getting involved with the program manager and the producers and so forth at Rogers at the time. And shortly after that, I came on board. It actually worked out because he ended up he got on doing Master Control part-time, and then an opportunity came up for me to get on as Master Control part-time, and then in that we started volunteering. So this is like I would say 95, 96. We were
still a really young kid then.
so you know, and of course that's back when the full size, you know, shoulder cans with the, you know, 40-pound battery belt for the light. Yep. And you know, it was 3/4 inch tape and all that other stuff. So needless to say, it was kind of neat because, you know, I would do as our business grew, because I was still doing the business and then we were still doing volunteer stuff. So as that was kind of growing, we actually had an opportunity to get out of his parents' basement and actually get a storefront. So we ended up getting a storefront in Petawawa. I was probably about 2 years in. So what was happening is once we got the storefront, I mean, it was, you know, regular store hours. So I would go there during the store, and then once our hours, and I would then head down to the TV station and do my Master Control job, you know, for whatever it was. So So I ended up doing that for a few years, and then you know, we're probably I was about 5 years in. Then I came to a decision, an opportunity came up where a full-time position came on at now. By that time, it had gone from Rogers to Cogeco, and a full-time opportunity came up there. And of course, I'm just like, okay, 5 years business is doing well. It was great. My partner at the time had other ambitions because he always wanted to be a police officer, and he ended up being a police officer. So I made the decision to kind of split ways and follow my path, get back into the actual full TV broadcasting side of things. So, so he kind of took over the business and renamed it, and then I ended up going on, starting my career at Cogeco, and overall was there for 17 years.
Wow.
And so I became went from a part-time Master Control operator, part-time kind of producer, volunteer to full-time producer, working on mobiles, hockey games, everything. So then again, like I said, another change of course happened, and back in 2010, I made a decision to part ways with Cogeco. I mean, it was a tough decision because you know, I really enjoyed. Yeah, well, paycheck, but I think to tell you the truth, it was a lot more than that. I think it was more or less working with other people in the community, and knowing at that time we were making a difference. Now, mind you, 2010, you got to think things were really starting to change, especially with internet and YouTube and everything else kind of coming into play. So when I started, we used to have, you know, 60 volunteers come out and be part of things like Lumber Kings hockey and councils and all the different fundraisers we used to have, everything from empty stocking fundraiser to oh, now it's all escaping me. But we had a lot of fundraisers.
Yes.
And then the other things like Remembrance Day, Santa Claus Parade, like, and it was neat because at the time, because we had so many volunteers, you kind of had to work your way up a ladder.
Yep.
To be involved with certain productions. So once I came full time there, it was like, no, now I'm running these productions, right? So, you know, the whole thing when the Lumber Kings went through their 5 championships, I was there right on the ice.
Awesome.
When the first one went in and you had like 4,000 people in the PMC, like there's all these little key different moments. And I think that's the one thing that I really, really enjoyed with it, is because you were making those connections and people remembered for you. Like I did my own computer show.
Yeah.
When you know, so when
I remember seeing those.
CPU, computers, people understanding, and again we did 8 years of doing that computer show, and then everything is like TV bingo, swap shop with Phil Smith, and the list goes on. So when the decision came to in January 2010 to kind of move on, and the goal was to go and do my business full time, and because when I was at Cogeco, I had built up so many connections with people, clients with their computer systems and so forth. Mm-hmm. It was probably around 2002, 2003. So I was still doing Cogeco, but people still wanted computers. So I kind of did a little moonlighting, did a little thing with dealing computers. So that's where ComBEtek came in. So then fast forward to 2010, I came to the decision that no, I want to do my own thing. So after working since I was 12, basically that was the first time. Yeah, what was it? January 15th, 2010. That was my last day. The first time I've been actually unemployed in decades. And then so my current manager that I work in, a longtime friend, Jamie Bramberger, was the one that called me up and said, after it was official that I was gone with Cogeco, said, got a job for you. So ever since then, I've been at the college, doing video work and so forth at the college. So between doing my business and doing the college, video has been pretty much my life for almost 28 years, if you want to take it all the way back to 92. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned, your comm show, because I recently just ran into your show on YouTube and saw a piece of it, and maybe we can insert it here somewhere. Inserting it now.
Yeah, how young he looked in those shows.
I couldn't believe how young he was, and that actually made me realize he's been doing this for a very long time.
Well, if I look back, because one of the first outside of the computer show, one of the other ones, because we used to do a news magazine show called Plugged In, and that was another one that I actually host, and then we changed it to TV Cogeco Insight. Then it became TV Cogeco News, and the show and the list goes on. But yeah, I've seen I've had a couple of those links sent to me that people put up on YouTube, and I look back, and I mean, aside from a lot less gray hair, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a growing experience. That's how you learn. That's what you start with, and we all cringe sometimes when we look back at our old stuff.
Well, I look back at a lot of the stuff we were doing, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the one thing that I really enjoyed doing is always pushing the limits with the stuff that we could do. Yes. And like CPU at the time, I mean, going back to the whole video toaster, I mean, we were getting into, there's a 3D animation program called Lightwave, and we were like one of the first ones to really take advantage and do like a complete 3D rendering, opening intros for our shows and so forth. And really like even the major broadcasters at the time weren't really doing that, or paying millions of dollars for a computer system that can do it. And here we are in Pembroke at the local community TV show, like, putting together these high-end intros and graphics and everything else. And and it kind of goes with everything else that we were doing. Like when we used to do the Smash Up Derby for the Petawawa Civic Center days, we were incorporating wireless cameras even before GoPros even came out. We were incorporating wireless cameras inside the cars. Didn't always work, but I mean, we were always, pushing the limits to what we could do.
Trying to be the forerunners there.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what does your business primarily do now? Do you do productions for different companies, or what does you do?
Well, I won't touch on the pandemic stuff right now because everything's going to lead up to that. So, so really, production wise, so for the business, I mean, a lot of the stuff that got me going was commercials and promotional videos, and creating content for other companies that may necessarily not have the ability to do it themselves, right? And again, this is, yes, cell phone technology has definitely changed the way we do things now, and like now with the pandemic, because everyone seems to be in front of a camera in some way or another, right? And that's just because everyone was kind of forced to find ways to communicate, and regardless of your tech experience and so forth, you were like, all right, well, here's what we're doing. So whether it's Skype, whether it's Zoom, whether it's the plethora of other different applications that are out there. But yeah, for me, the biggest thing was creating commercials, promotional videos, real estate, virtual tours.
Nice.
I was doing that, but now that's one of my big things now, obviously because of what's been happening. Then I started getting into live streaming stuff, which is very similar to what I was doing when I was with Rogers, Coach Go, YourTV, because I still volunteer for YourTV as well, and basically getting out there on location and doing things. So I can still, I still do pretty much everything that I was doing down at YourTV. It's just that now it's all me. So, from multi-camera and so forth. Now, the other thing on that, and this is where going back to what I was talking about with connecting with people. So one of the other things that's kind of picked up, so getting onto the live streaming stuff. A few years ago, Petawawa hosted the not track and field. It was a cross country offset.
Yeah, I remember that.
Cross country, and I was asked by Gary Service at the time, who was on the committee putting together, that whole event, and he asked me to put together people who would, be interested in helping out cover it, because they actually had a company coming in at the time. I didn't know who they were, but it was Runner Space, and I didn't know who they were at the time. So they ended up coming in, and they were basically doing exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
In covering events and so forth. So on that, they came in. They were basically taking the golf course up on base and running fiber and doing up all the camera stuff, and then asking us, basically figuring that we were just cameramen, to help out with the production. Well, once he kind of knew that I knew how to produce, I knew how to troubleshoot, I knew how to do camera, I knew how to, do everything. It was interesting because shortly after they had completed that event, Kevin Allman, who was the producer of that show, contacted me and said, "Hey, do you want to come out, to Montreal and cover the indoor track and field?" And I'm like, okay. So a few months later, I ended up going down to Montreal, and I ended up helping him, produce, that. And then he asked me, well, what about doing this, in Toronto for the OSSA track and field, and then so forth and so forth. So now it's been almost 3 years, and through Athletics Canada and Runner Space, I've been basically flying across the country. They had me in Abbotsford, BC, for the Canadian cross-country championships, and again, out there producing that. So it's just, again, the connections and how you go through, and so business-wise, I've tended to get out of the computer side of things, even though computers play. If you can see my office right now, I'm surrounded by computers.
I've been in there. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but it's the computers still play a part, and I do it more for myself and in a few other people that I work with that they only want to come to me for their computer stuff, which is fine. But primarily, a lot of it's been live streaming. Hence the situation that the world is in now with the pandemic. So because I've been doing live streaming and I know how to produce programs and I know how to do graphics and I know how to do a lot of things, so people have been coming to me to help them with getting their stuff out there. So
Awesome.
municipal councils have been helping, and there's a couple other things that are in the hopper right now. And yeah, so that's what kind of keeps me going.
Exactly. And you mentioned earlier about the college too. You do a lot of stuff with the college, but it's not just video work. You actually teach out of the college too.
Yep. Yeah. So over the years, I've been involved with the outdoor adventure program because one of their big things at the end of their second year is to record or document their final expedition. And at the time when I got involved, it was usually just a PowerPoint presentation that students. So they had them going all over the world, Brazil, Scotland, France, like all over the place, right?
Oh, wow.
And then they come back and they present, to friends, families, faculty, and so forth. And it was always a glorified, PowerPoint presentation. So my job at the time was to introduce them to video editing, video production, and documentary style. And I was involved with the ODA program for 9 years, and you could see, the quality just kind of go up and change because we had students, we were teaching because at the time we had, and we still have it, the entire Adobe Creative Suite. So I was teaching them the basics of Photoshop, the basics of photography, and creating better content. And then once they got the still imagery out of it, then we worked our way into video and audio and transitions and editing, and it made a huge difference. Oh, and then and then I got into business because obviously business and social media and creating content for that. So that's where that worked in. And now I'm involved with the action sport park development program. So obviously dealing with a lot of the action sports where any event that you deal with that, of course, there's some sort of video component involved with that. So I'm helping them with that as well. So yes, I got the teaching side of it. I got the videography side at the college. And then still doing my thing business-wise.
Very cool. And then, so now how do you see, now that we're going through this pandemic, things are sort of now, people are normally online now because they don't have anything else to do. The weather is getting nicer, of course, people will be getting outside, but where do you see now your business taking, what's the next step you see it going? I know we don't have too much time. We probably got about 4 or 5 minutes left, but where do you see your business going now future-wise?
It's not stopping. I consider myself lucky that I've been able to keep doing, what I've been able to do. Now, yes, mind you, and John, you can attest to this too, is a lot of the bigger ticket items, have gone a wayside. Like I was in line to help out the Pembroke Little League Championship that was scheduled in the end of July to live stream those games. The Relay for Life that was supposed to happen. Everything, even the Algonquin College convocation, Jason Lane, like a lot of the dance recitals. Like I've been doing dance recitals right now, right? So a lot of those big ticket items have obviously been kind of pushed aside, but the live streaming of the councils, the real estate agents have been really keeping me busy, and then creating, content like this. So, aside from the Dave and John show, right? It's Dave first, then John.
You got it right. At least someone has it right.
I've been doing my own little, show, virtually business as usual. Again, same idea, trying to help people get the word out who would normally not have that ability to get stuff out there. And again, it makes a difference, when you put a little production value behind something, because that's the whole purpose of making content, is making it stand out and making people watch. Exactly. And being consistent, right? So
yeah, and that's why Dave and I think wanted to do this a lot, is for some of these local business. I mean, a lot of them are shut down. We're seeing, it's unfortunate, but we are seeing businesses closing down. I hate seeing that, especially in a local community. It's a tight community. So if we can do something to help some of these business stay on the forefront, in front of people, and get their face out there, people are going to be able to. People are afraid that they're when they open up their business, the customers aren't going to be there. They're going to be there. They're going to have money to spend. They're all sitting at home. Yeah. They're not spending their money. They're going to have money to spend. It's just now, where are they going to spend it? So now I think people like yourself and my business, we've now got to show them how we can get them back out into the forefront. And I think shows like ours and yours are doing that. We're letting businesses communicate to the public a little bit.
Well, it's not just that. It's other things too. So for the last probably 4 years or so forth, I've been helping out Kevin Marshall, who owns the Skylight Drive-In and the Arnprior O'Brien Theater, and I do the advertising for both the Arnprior Renfrew and the Skylight Drive-In. And now, because of the working relationship that I've had with Kevin, he's getting asked, obviously with the drive-in not officially open up at this particular point in time of this recording. Now he's being asked by schools to do graduation, and he's looking at people doing weddings there. Yep. He's been approached by concert promoters and so forth. And of course, they're all asking, well, can you get video up on the big screen?
That's right. There you go, Dave. So maybe we get the John and Dave TV on the big screen.
Yeah.
Good. Talking about you now,
we got about 2-3 minutes here
to expand your business and to get your business going.
What was that? Sorry.
How can people get a hold of you and then contact with you, maybe get their business going and get a video made for them?
Google ComBEtek, and now I'm up. I'm not hard to find. I'm on every possible social media platform that's out there. Obviously, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube being the big ones. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And all my contact information, email, cell phone, and so forth are all over there. But yeah, I'm not that hard to find. Like, even I find sometimes if you type in my name as opposed to my company name, more hits come up on me as opposed to my business. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Coming up to your home door. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. I know personally, we could sit here for an hour or two and talk, because there's so much that we know that we would love to get out there, but unfortunately we don't have that much time. But I appreciate you coming on here. I know that you've helped my business a lot in the last 10 years. We've known each other for quite a while, and we try and help each other out. So I don't know about Dave, if you have any final words you want to say, but I want to thank you for being here from my point of view.
And thank you, Shawn, for being on the show. And, it's always a pleasure seeing Shawn out volunteering with us and being out there doing production with us. I get to learn a lot from him still. And I'm still pretty new with the station. He talk about, how you start from the bottom, grow to the top. Well, it seems like I'm at the top and I should be at the bottom right now. But that's thanks to people like, like John, like Shawn, like Tiana, our producer behind the screen, that just show me all these skills that build my skills.
And the funny thing is, for your viewers are out there, so Dave and I actually, our history kind of go back to the college when I was doing a promotional video for the ETech program, and he was asked to go in front of the camera. 25 takes later, we ended up getting the right shot.
But it feels much better.
You want to talk about someone who was nervous about being in front of the camera?
Yeah. And look where I am now.
Thanks for being here. I'm getting the thumbs up from Tiana there, so we better wrap this up. But thanks for coming on, and maybe we'll get you back on again, and maybe we'll come on a shoot with you sometime.
No problem. Take care, guys.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.